Hey everybody, good morning again. Up at it early here at the house, back in the office, working on the Fish the Moment maps again. And that's the thing about here at Fish the Moment, we don't ever quit working 7 days a week, man. We're going after it, trying to put out good stuff and good content and good things to help everybody catch more fish. But hey, as promised, I wanted to take today and go over what I think the three most underrated lakes in the country are. Yesterday, if you tuned into the video, I talked about what I thought the three most overrated lakes are in the country. And today I wanted to sort of go over that, the opposite end of it. Yesterday we talked about, Grand Lake, Lake Pickwick, and Lake Fork. And today I want to give you my three. And sort of had some interesting comments on the feed yesterday with it. And that's the thing about it. Got sort of a mixed deal on there. I'm going to say that probably 90% of the people, sort of agreed with me on it. Of course, there's 10% of the people that didn't. And that's sort of the thing about social media. And anytime you put out an opinion, it's an interesting study of human behavior, because there's some people out there that just like to gripe and like to complain. And we all do at times. I mean, I do too myself. But some people, it's like, I could sit here and say, man, chocolate cake with ice cream on it's really good. I mean, it's a really good dessert. Or I could say something like, man, chocolate chip cookies are excellent. Excuse me. And there would be somebody come on there and say, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my world. How could you dare say chocolate chip cookies and chocolate cake and ice cream are good? You don't know what you're talking about. So it's funny to see some of the sensitive types out there respond to some of the comments, but that's just part of it. Anytime you have an opinion, you're going to get some positive and negative from it. Doesn't matter what it is. That little bit of housekeeping here before we get going. I've been posting a little bit on my social media. Johnny and I are having the Fish the Moment Advanced Crankbait Seminar coming up this Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. I talked to Johnny yesterday. We've only got a few more openings left on it. So if you're interested, go to fishthemoment.com, sign up for the Advanced Wintertime Crankbait Seminar. It's going to be a really good one. There's going to be a lot of information on this seminar that you probably haven't considered that will really help you out in the winter. So anyway, back to the three most underrated lakes in the country, in my opinion. The first one, excuse me, there's a lot of, variables that go into this, first of all. I'm not just talking about the quality of the fishing, although that is the biggest aspect of it. The thing that I consider a great fishery is like what we talked about yesterday, is where everybody in the field catches them. And I'm relating this to tournament competition, because that's a really good gauge of how good a fishery is. If everybody catches them, if the top 25% catches them good, and also the bottom 25% catches them good, because if the bottom 25% of the pro field is catching them good, that means that the average weekend angler out there that's really trying to learn about the sport is going to have a good chance of catching them or not catching them on that lake. So that, combined with the fact that the aesthetics of a lake, the fishing pressure, and just basically how enjoyable it is to fish. So I'll start out 3, 2, 1 again. My number third most underrated lake in the country is Lake Norman in North Carolina. Lake Norman, it's a medium-sized lake located in North Carolina. It's heavily developed. There's boat docks, boat piers all over the lake, and it is absolutely full of fish. The reason I put Lake Norman as the third most underrated lake in the country is simply how many bites you can get here and how big the lake fishes for its size. It's only, I'm going to guess, probably 20-some thousand acres, maybe 30,000 acres, something like that. But there's so many boat docks and so many boat piers on the lake that it really distributes the fishing pressure out really good. And there's tons of bass on them. I mean, there's very few docks on Lake Norman that you can't get bid on. Not only docks, but you got lots of seawalls, you got a lot of flat points, you got a lot of shallow cover up the river. There's a good finesse bite on the lake. There's a good power bite, a good moving bait bite. It's a lake where you can go and catch a lot of fish. And normally when we go there, doesn't matter what time of the year, it produces a lot of bass. Doesn't produce like a lot of big weights, but it's a really fun lake to fish because there's a ton of those pound and a half to 2 pound spotted bass in that lake. And the fact that it fishes big is another attractant to me. One of the biggest things I rate a lake quality on is how much dead water it has on it. And Lake Norman doesn't have much dead water. It's one of those lakes where you can put the trolling motor down and you're apt to catch one anywhere on the lake. And that's, to me, that's a big factor in a lake. So many of the lakes we go to in the country, there's only key areas of the lake that you can actually catch any fish in. And Lake Norman and all these three that I'm going to mention to you, you can catch fish everywhere on them. So Lake Norman, number 3. Number 2 is Shoals Lake on the Arkansas-Missouri border. I don't live very far from Shoals. I can probably be on the upper end of the lake in less than 45 minutes from my house. I fished the lake ever since I was a kid. It's awesome. It's a giant lake. Shoals is like man, it's massive. It's got a massive amount of shoreline on it. And the thing that's really cool about Shoals Lake is that it's undeveloped. That's one of the things I really like about it. There's little to no shoreline development on it. It's pretty much in the same state as it's been since it was impounded. It's got a lot of diversity. You've got 3 different species of bass in it: largemouth, smallmouth, Kentuckys. And it's one of those lakes where you can catch them anywhere. You can catch them from the dam area all the way up to the river. Basically put your trolling motor down anywhere and you got a chance to catch them. Shoals also has a lot of really quality fish. It's got a lot of those bass in that 4 to 5 pound range, and you also have a lot of diversity and patterns there. The lake fluctuates tremendously. I mean, sometimes it'll fluctuate 25, 30 foot in 1 year. So in certain situations, you've got low water, a lot of different rock transition type stuff to fish: bluffs, flats, pea gravel, submerged timber. And then a lot of times in the springtime of the year, the lake's really high, and it's one of the best flipping lakes in the country as far as willow trees and buckbrushes. So from that sense, there's a lot of diversity in it. But it's another one of those lakes where you can go to and you can catch just a lot of bass, and you got a chance to catch some quality fish. And in most tournaments that you have there, I mean, particularly the ones like in the pre-spawn to the spawn time of the year, everybody catches them. I mean, you can basically go anywhere on the lake you want to go and you can get bit. So Shoals Lake, Arkansas-Missouri border, is number 2. Number 1, the most underrated lake in the country, and even though this lake is it's famous and it's known as a quality fishery, it still does not get the attention that it deserves for how good it really is. And that's Lake St. Clair in Michigan. And everybody knows Lake St. Clair is a good lake, but if you've ever fished up there and you compare that lake to other lakes in the country, you will know how you can't say enough about that lake as far as how good it really is. The quality of fishing in Lake St. Clair is, without a doubt, it's the best lake in the country. So even if you say and you talk about the fact that everybody goes up there and catches them, you still can't reiterate the fact how awesome it really is. There's more 3 to 5 pound smallmouth bass in Lake St. Clair than any place that I know about, with the exception of if you went into like some of the backwater boundary waters into Canada, where you had to canoe into and you couldn't put a boat into it. But then again, that's not accessible for most people because it's canoe only. But as far as just a man-made lake open to the public, Lake St. Clair is not only the best lake in the country, it's also probably the most overrated lake in the country. And the reason I say that again is how big it fishes. Lake St. Clair is a massive lake. It's frozen a lot during the year, so that's one of the reasons it's so good, is because the season's shorter up there. but it's another one of those lakes that just has very little dead water in it. It's got some, but it doesn't have much, because you can catch fish along the banks anywhere on Lake St. Clair. You can get out on, the big rock flats and grass flats offshore and catch them. You can literally, on Lake St. Clair, you've got a chance of catching a bass anywhere on that lake. If somebody just dropped you out of a helicopter anywhere on the lake, I don't care if it's in the middle of the lake, on the bank, 300 yards off the bank, whatever, you've got a chance to catch them there. I have literally caught bass on Lake St. Clair in every part of the lake, every water depth that they have, places that have cover, places that don't have cover. There's just big smallmouth everywhere on that place. Here's an indication how good it is, and what I'm talking about the whole field catching them. The last tournament we fished up there 2 years ago, I had 18 pounds and something the first day, and I wasn't even in the top 50 check range with 18 something pounds. The second day of the tournament, I caught 20 pounds. So I had, or maybe it was 18, 15, 20 something, but anyway, I had 39 pounds for the tournament for two. That's almost a 4-pound average of smallmouth. And I finished 37th place in the tournament with almost a 4-pound average. There were guys down there that caught 15 pounds a day, a 3-pound average on smallmouth, and they finished like 150th in the tournament. So from that standpoint, even though people know Lake St. Clair is a good lake, it still is the most underrated lake in the country, in my opinion, because how phenomenal the fishing is up there. It's just unbelievable. And it's like that anytime you go there. I fished up there anytime between May and October, the key times of the year, and it's just as good in May as it is in October. It's good all the time up there. And another thing is, like I said, you can spread out. Since it's a big open water lake, you're not on top of everybody's not on top of everybody, and it's just pretty pleasurable to fish aside from the wind. One thing I will say about Lake St. Clair that does, suck a little bit about it is they've got so many giant cruisers up there, and these people go out on the weekend up there, and they have like these things called poker runs where they'll have like 50 of these big giant cruisers just chasing each other down, and they meet in the back of a cove and they exchange cards and they play some card game, but it gets the lake really churned up there. So the rough water is the drawback about that. But anyway, that's my top 3 most underrated lakes: Lake Norman, Bull Shoals Lake, Lake St. Clair. There's a lot to debate on this topic. I mean, everybody has their own favorites, what they think's the most underrated and overrated, and a lot of it just depends on how you like to fish and the type of fishing you like to pursue and the things that you like to do on the water. But anyway, drop some comments. Let's get some conversation going. I'd be curious to hear what everybody out there thinks is the most underrated lakes in the country. If you like the video, hit the like button. Really appreciate that. And I'm going to get back to making maps here for Fish the Moment. So we'll talk to y'all later. Have a good weekend. See you.